Hi! Welcome to this video on chemical conversions. We see that the assignment wants us to find how many moles and how many atoms in 1.60 kilograms of sulfur. So usually at this point, students begin to recall their formulas in their head. They try to remember what was what, how do I turn this into that and the other way around and such. So that's a lot of remembering, that's a lot of cramming. Sometimes it works and you just find, the formula, you plug it in, you get the answer. But then 2 weeks later, you don't remember it anymore. So I want to show you a way how you can always do it without studying formulas, without needing formulas. We will need some things, of course, there are some things that we need to know. The first thing is that this kilogram is not what we use in chemistry. So we're going to turn this into grams. 1.60 times 10 to the third grams. Why not 1600? Because this has 4 significant digits and we can't add significant digits, so we keep the original significant digits by writing it in scientific notation. The next thing that we need to know is that there exists an element sulfur in the periodic table and it has the number 3206 below it. We know, or at least we need to know, that this thing is called the molar mass, denoted with a capital M, and that its units are grams per mole. That is something that we do need to know. We need to know that the molar mass exists as a physical quantity with the units gram per mole. So now when we have that, we can write it out. 1.60 times 10 to the third grams. And this needs to become moles. This gram over here needs to be turned into a mole. So how do I do that without remembering a formula? I just look at the mathematics. The mathematics says that if this gram needs to become a mole, then this gram needs to disappear. Which means I need to divide by grams. Because when I divide by grams, these grams cancel and they don't appear on the right side. The mole does appear on the right side. So this means I need to add a mole to get the mole on the right side. The grams are gone, the mole is the mole, so we have made the conversion. So basically, what the formula would say, or what the math tells us, is that when we multiply grams by mole per gram, we end up with mole. Because these grams cancel and mole equals mole. However, we don't have anything that is mole per gram. We have gram per mole. Which means we don't need to multiply, but we need to divide. When we divide our grams by gram per mole, we're actually dividing by a fraction. And when we divide by a fraction, that's the same as multiplying by the opposite. So it still gives us grams times mole per gram, which equals moles. So dividing by the molar mass is the thing that we need to do. And we found this out without knowing a formula. Just going on what the math tells us. What the math tells us when we need to get rid of grams and we need to create moles, so to speak. So when I have this 1.60 times 10 to the third grams, if I divide it by the molar mass, which is 32.06, I end up with 49.9 moles. And this is in gram per mole. These grams cancel. Mole is what is left. And it has 3 significant digits here, because this has 3 significant digits. So that's one part of the assignment without a formula. The other part is exactly the same. Now we have our moles, and we need to know how many atoms are in there. So we have our 49.9 mole. And this needs to become an amount, but an amount doesn't have a unit. It's just an amount. It's 12 apples, or 12 is the amount. So this means we need to get rid of our moles, which means divide by mole. And we need an amount, so we might say we add an amount. Not that amount is actually a unit or anything, but we still need something that has an amount per mole. When we multiply by an amount per mole, we get rid of the moles, and we end up with an amount. Which thing has an amount per mole? That is Avogadro's number. Avogadro's number is 6.022 times 10 to the 23 atoms or particles per mole, or basically amount of things per mole. So when we multiply the 49.9 by Avogadro's number, the moles will cancel, and the amount is what is left. In this case, it's 3.00 times 10 to the 23 atoms. Atoms isn't a unit either, but you might write that because that is what the question wants. So that is how we do it without a formula, without remembering formulas. We just use the math to get rid of what we don't want and to create what we do want. So I hope you learned something. Thank you very much.